Maybe I will get us started. So, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar, which is Networked Auditors, Crowdsourcing and Community-Led ATI. My name is Julia Cushion. I'm the Policy and Advocacy Manager here at My Society, and I'm really delighted to welcome you to this session, which is part of our Access to Information Community of Practice. If you've registered online, we'll send all the details out for this as well, or if you're watching back again, I'll make sure that there are the links that you need in the video as well. If you haven't joined one of these before, this series brings together people and projects who are using access to information in interesting ways all around the world to share ideas, tools, and experiences and make change. In the past sessions, we have explored climate and access to information, AI decision making, and evaluating access to information in practice, as opposed to looking at the legislation. So we've been having a really enjoyable series so far. Hopefully you've seen some of them. If you haven't, you can please do feel free to catch up. I'll make sure to send the links around. But today we are focusing on how access to information can empower what we're calling networked auditors, which is communities, volunteers, civil society groups to come together and use access to information to work together to uncover and connect information, to build big data sets and to do something with that data. It's a really exciting area of practice and yeah, a great place I think where what can be a disparate freedom of information requests can be brought together and achieve something really powerful. Lovely to see everybody joining. Thanks so much for coming along. We have a brilliant panel of speakers today who I'm so delighted to be joined by. They'll each do about 10 to 15-minute long presentations, and then we have a bit of time for question and answers at the end. Please do feel free to put your questions in the chat throughout. First, we'll hear from lovely Nnenna from the Public and Private Development Centre in Nigeria, who'll talk about the Bidesi project and how they use freedom of information and community monitors to track public projects and link budget data with what's happening in real life. Then we've got actually a pre-recorded video from Marzena from Citizens Network Watchdog Poland. She sadly couldn't be here today, but she's recorded a brilliant presentation all about how Citizens Network Watchdog uses volunteers and FOI data to track what is going on in government. And finally, lovely Stefan from FragDenStaat and the Open Knowledge Foundation talking about FOI, food hygiene data and data-driven campaigns that transform transparency across the sector. So yeah, thank you so much for our amazing speakers who've come along to talk to us today. A quick few little housekeeping bits. The session will run for about an hour, and so we have got a bit of time for Q&A at the end. As I mentioned, we are recording today's discussion and we will host that on our YouTube afterwards and share that around, so please do also share that with anyone who you think might be interested. And yes, the chat is there for you to say hi and to ask any questions, and there will be time for questions at the end. So I think without too much further ado, we can get started. Thanks so much for joining us. I will hand over to you, Nnenna.
Thank you, Julia, for the introduction. So let me just share my slide. Then we can begin. All right. So good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, and thank you, Julia and My Society, for putting this together. So my name is Nnenna Eze, and I work with the Public and Private Development Center. It's a citizen society organization based in Nigeria, and today I'll be sharing how some of our work is transforming governance systems in Nigeria through data, civic technology, and citizens engagement, and how we're using our Budeshi model in expanding to unreachable communities or undeserved communities. So let's begin with who we are and what drives our mission. So as I mentioned earlier, PPDC is a civil society organization dedicated to improving citizens' participation in governance. And for the past 20 years, this is what we've been doing, focused on how to bridge the gap between citizens and the government, making sure that citizens are carried along in government processes, government policies, service delivery, procurement, open contracting, and things that would, necessarily be excluded at the grassroots level. So these are some of the things that we have been doing for the past 20 years. We have also utilized the Freedom of Information Act, which we advocated strongly for the adoption in Nigeria. So currently, we are expanding our reach to the UK and the US, seeing that the work that we have been able to do has reached a lot of grassroots organizations. and we have been able to make significant impact. It was important for us to expand to the international communities, raise funds, and bring the funding back home to Africa, making sure that, the funding is reaching grassroots organizations that would necessarily not be qualified or, have the capacity to house or implement such big funding from big donor organizations. So that's what we're currently doing now. All right. So what is Budeshi? Budeshi is a Hausa word which means open it. So what we've seen in the past or prior to Budeshi was that, the government data was very difficult to come across or even difficult to understand and utilize, effectively. So what we did was after the advocacy of the open contracting government partnership that Nigeria has signed up to, we also advocated for the Public Procurement Act and the FOI Act. So what we do is write FOI requests to ministries, government agencies. So when they give us the data, we simplify this data and put it on Budeshi. So what this does is makes procurement data easily accessible to journalists, to citizens, to civil society organizations. And later on in my slide deck, I'm going to talk about how, Budeshi has really impacted communities. But that is what Budeshi is in a nutshell. It's a civic tech tool that links budgets to procurement data to various public services using the Open Contracted Data Standard, which is part of what the OGP is advocating for and is championing for. So what is our Budeshi journey? For the past 20 years, we have really worked in championing, membership of Nigeria in open government partnerships. So working with state governments, making sure that they have open contracting data standard portals. It's one thing to be at the federal level, but it's another thing to ensure that we are going to the local and state level to make sure that this data is also open, easily accessible, because we found out that a lot of corruption happens at the local level because people often tend to, overlook that area, overlook that sector of government, or arm of government rather. So we worked with over 10 state governments, to make sure that they have streamlined their procurement data, their procurement processes, and making sure that they are constantly updating on their OCDS portals. We also have our annual FOI ranking, which is where we rank MDAs based on their level of disclosure, their responsiveness, and their proactive disclosure. So we've done this for the past 10 years, and what we've seen is significant increase in the level of disclosure and proactive disclosure of various MDAs that we have worked with. So in the course of our rankings, when we see that MDAs are not being proactive. They don't have FOI DEX officers. We provide our support to them. We provide trainings to them. We help them set up an FOI DEX officer. We ensure that, once they are receiving FOI requests, not just from our organizations, but from any other organizations, they're able to, reply to those requests in a timely manner, because the law states that every MDA should respond to an FOI request within 7 days. And if there is any cause for delay, it should be written, it should be documented in writing. So, the organization that or the individual that is asking for the request is aware. So this is what we've been able to do with our FOI ranking. So we've seen a huge impact or improvement in the disclosure processes. We see MDAs are now proactively disclosing. We see MDAs are now, even if they don't fully disclose, there's partial disclosure. This is something that citizens can work with in the sector. I think one of our biggest challenges during our FOI or during the course of our FOI ranking is the security sector. It is still experiencing a level of paucity and lack of data because of security reasons. But then, our debate is, if these things have been procured for the in the past 5 years, why is it not open to the public? But this is the conversation that we're still currently having with the security agencies in Nigeria. Also, I've said that we provide technical support to states to set up open contracting portals. We've trained journalists and investigative reporters on how to use the FOI Act, how to use data on Budeshi. I will speak more about some of the initiatives that we're currently working on with investigative journalists later on in my slide. And of course, we engage with communities to facilitate training. So this is one of the huge things that we do in PPDC is we go down to grassroots communities to ensure that we're giving them information, we're giving them the capacity, we're connecting them with their local representatives, so their senators, their House of Reps, their representatives that are in charge of their communities. Because we have also seen in the course of our work that there is a huge gap. Community members often think that government projects that are coming to their communities are a favor from the government. Meanwhile, it's taxpayers' money. Meanwhile, the government is supposed to be accountable, it's supposed to be transparent on how they are judiciously spending the monies. They're supposed to, conduct even needs assessments in those communities before even entering the communities and building those projects. So what we do is we translate the FOI data, the procurement data that we've gotten via FOI, we translate them to their local languages. We translate how they can even write FOI requests to their representatives. We make sure that we're giving them the data, up-to-date data. We give them a toll-free line that enables them to call us whenever they see a project that is coming up in their community to ask questions. So our goal is just to ensure that communities are asking questions. Communities don't get substandard projects. Communities, have value for money and that the government is being held accountable. So some of our impacts are enhanced citizens' participation in governance in rural communities, which is one of our biggest impacts. We've seen where schools have been dilapidated, contract awards have been made, but yet the schools, are not functioning. And we go there, we conduct our research, we conduct our advocacy, we see what contractor was supposed to do that, what agency awarded that project. And we begin our campaign online and with the agencies. And we've seen, contractors come back, government agencies come back to ensure that that project is being rehabilitated. So we've also improved service delivery. We've used media to drive accountability and awareness. Our Budeshi radio, our Budeshi Waka, this is something that we do regularly, going from communities to communities, making sure that we're empowering them. And our overall goal at the end of the day, of course, is to improve service delivery and make sure that we are reducing corruption, because we have seen that over 70% of corruption that happens in Nigeria happens within the public procurement space. So these are some of our case studies. The Burutu primary healthcare in Delta State, which serves a population of over 200,000 indigents. If you can see the picture, there's a before and there's an after. Also, this project in Buzunkuri, Abuja, a water project. This project was done in 2024, this water project, and it was very surprising to me that Abuja is the Federal Capital Territory. So it was very surprising to me when I went to this community that they didn't have a borehole or good water. They had to go, fetch water from a stream. It's very embarrassing to say, but yes, they had to go fetch water from somewhere else. And monies have been allocated for this project. So what we did, of course, write letters to the representative who is in charge of that local government. And they came back and did the water project. So I think for us, when we amplify these things, when we highlight these things, when we spotlight these things, the government officials become scared. We have had cases of investigative journalists investigate projects and they have been offered bribe. So they know what they're doing. And it's important for us at PPDC to continue to spotlight these issues, to continue to use the FOI, to continue to use the Procurement Act to spotlight the issues of corruption and positive data in procurement processes in Nigeria. This is another case study of a classroom. So it's very similar. We have classrooms, we have water projects, we have roads, we have healthcare, and I was on the field in Delta State some years ago, and we hear stories of people who lose their lives because the primary healthcare that is there is not well equipped, and money has been allocated to equip these things. So where's the money going to? That is where PPDC comes in, making sure that, the money that has been allocated is used for what it's supposed to be used for. So some of the initiatives that we're currently working on are our mini grants. So we have the Budeshi mini grant and the Budeshi media grant. So what this is, like I mentioned earlier, we've seen that there is a huge gap between grassroots organizations and big donors. So we want to step into that gap want to step into that space to bridge that gap. So we have launched a $7,500 grant to grassroots organizations. Please stop me when my time is off. All right. So we've launched a $7,000 mini grant for grassroots organizations across 36 states in Nigeria. So what this does is empowering them. We are building their capacity. We are helping them with the legal registrations that they need to attract more donor funding in future. We are giving them a hands-on, holding hands kind of training on how to, go into the field, how to track and monitor projects, how to report those projects, how to create campaigns that will bring about impacts and fixes to those communities. The second one is our $4,000 investigative journalist grant, which is very similar to, the Budeshi mini grant. So it's also empowering journalists to uncover some corrupt projects, that they might have seen in their communities. So all these projects, all these grants is going back to communities, going back to the grassroots. Because again, like I said, it's one thing to do or make impact or to make some form of wave at the federal level, but at the end of the day, we have it better at the federal level. We have better hospitals, better schools, better infrastructure. But how do we bring it down to the grassroots, which is where most of the corruption is actually happening, because those people there are, don't have education. They are scared. They don't have, will I say, they don't have the capacity to advocate for themselves. So that is where we come in, making sure we are empowering them to be able to advocate, so that when we leave to focus on, other things, they have the capacity and they are able to advocate for themselves, making sure that the projects in their communities are up to standard and fit for purpose. So I think that's it. I hope I was right on time, and I hope I didn't
That's
exceed my time.
perfect timing, Nnenna. Thank you so much. Yeah, really, really inspiring. We've got a great question from Catherine, but I will save it for the Q&A at the end. Thank you so much, Nnenna. That was amazing. I'm just going to change the spotlight, sorry, so that everyone can see the right thing. And I'm now going to share our video from Marzena. So I'll just make sure I'm doing that with the sound. Great, and hopefully you can hear.
Hello everybody, my name is Marzena Błaszczyk. I represent Citizens Network Watchdog Poland, and today I'll be talking to you about the crowdsourcing and freedom of information. Give me just a second to start the presentation. And right now it should be visible. Let me start with introducing our organization. Citizens Network Watchdog Poland has been active since 2003. We are focused on freedom of information. We provide legal help for citizens, local activists, journalists. We also prepare different litigations, and last year we have won our first case before the European Court of Human Rights. And talking about the source crowdsourcing, I would like to mention two our tools. The first one is Fedrowanie, which we can translate as mining, data mining. And the second one is the service, we check how it is, sprawdzamy jak jest. Last year we have closed this service, but it's still an interesting example of crowdsourcing. And on base of that, we are developing something new. So I just wanted to talk about this today. So let's start with Fedrowanie. It's our platform to send the freedom of information requests via email. It's quite similar to the Alavateli platform, but it's not so open to the public as other platforms. We can mass send different freedom of information requests. We have a lot of different institutions in our database, and we are using this tool to monitor different topics, different themes in local governments, but also among other institutions like environmental institutions or central institutions, courts, and so on. And we are also giving access to this platform to other organizations or journalists. But as I mentioned, it's not open for the typical user who would like to send a freedom of information request. And what we can say, it's no matter how much work we would put into preparing freedom of information request, there was always a struggle with the replies, with gathering the information from these responses that we were getting. And that's how we developed Sprawdzamy jak jest. We checked how it is website. It was thought and designed as a place that we can make crowdsource document analysis. And in this service, we were presenting the responses from our freedom of information requests to the users, and they were tasked with finding specific informations in the documents. And there was this statistical model developed that was showing the same document for several times to different users. And until a statistically reliable level of agreement wasn't reached, it was showing it to other users again and again. And it was interesting because the citizens could check the responses from their local governments or other local institutions. But what was the problem? Different type of formats of the replies, because sometimes it was the plain email, sometimes it was something attached, sometimes it was even a letter response, and with stamps and signature. So it was really hard to gather all those documents and the information, and there was a lot of challenges and limitations to this model. We were always struggling to get the volunteers to. At the beginning, we were informing that we are starting a campaign. We were informing what was the topic, and we were encouraging our fans, our members to take part in checking the documents, but it was quite consuming process for us and for the volunteers. Sometimes we had decided that we must resign from different questions because they were more complicated and they would be very hard to put them into the system and to be very well understood by the responders. And because of the time and the money, we could only done a limited number of monitorings in a year. And there was a lot of work around those monitorings for our comms department. And in the end, we even have to check those documents by ourselves. So as you can see, it wasn't so simple. There were topics that were very interesting for people, but there will always be some places in Poland that were not checked, and it was quite a challenge for us. This was a great tool during one of our most important monitorings from presidential election in 2020. It was a monitoring in which we have sent the Freedom of Information request to every municipality in Poland, and we were asking about data of Polish voters if they were given to the Polish Post, which according to the COVID provisions was supposed to organize the presidential election. And at the time, people were helping us not only with the verification, with the responses from the system, and but also they were helping us with other informations, because sometimes the municipality didn't answer for our Freedom of Information request, but citizens had this knowledge if the data of voters was given to Polish Post or not. Sometimes from local media, sometimes someone was working in the municipality office, so we were also gathering this kind of information. And when we were receiving the information for the answer for our Freedom of Information request, we could check it with other answers. So it was very interesting process. And what we are planning right now is use crowdsourcing to develop the new service. In Poland, we are struggling with local governments and how they are working, how the local councils are controlling the mayors. And last year, one of the president's mayors, mayor of Szczecin, when he was asked about the work of the members of local council, stated that everyone has to work somewhere. And of course, it's true, but from different sources, citizens, local media, we can see that members of local councils are often working in the companies that are owned by the local authorities. So there is a huge conflict of interests, and we want to develop this kind of service, crowdsource type of service, that will enable citizens, activists to give us this information about different local councils and councillors' employment. So we are now working on a new service. We plan to start in the first Q of 2026. And the objective is to map the local councillors' employment in the municipal and communal companies. It's important because in many cases we can see that when councillors are being employed in these municipal and communal companies, they are losing interest in controlling the mayor's office, and they are just, agreeing with the mayor with everything. So And in many cases, we can also see that there are different conflict of interests that is influencing the local public debate. And it is also a big problem in local communities. So the information that we want to gather are hard to find right now. In Poland, we do not have the central system for the assets declaration. It's being developed, but it's still not working, and still our government is working on the new provisions. Right now, in Poland, depending on the position, so for example, if depending on the fact that you are, for example, member of parliament or judge or prosecutor or local councillor, you are supposed to fill different assets declaration, and it's like it's around 26 different templates right now. Sorry, 17 templates and 26 different acts that are base for this activity. And in each declaration, you can find the information about the place of employment of the municipal councillor. And very often those information are not provided. On the right, you can see the template of the declaration. So in many cases, those documents are filled, just the declaration is printed from the file, and just people are filling it by hand. And sometimes it's even hard to recognize what is written inside. So we see this service as a place that we will gather information from different sources, from the citizens, who we hope will help us to get these declarations from the websites of the local governments and local councils, also from local media. And we also plan to use the Freedom of Information request just to check the information from the citizens and media. In different cases, sometimes we can see that also the general knowledge is important, that in small municipalities, people just know who is working where, and we also want to use it in some way. I think that I can tell you more about the system next year, and I hope that it was interesting for you. And thank you very much for having me here. And if you have any questions, please contact me via email. And thank you once again.
Yeah, fantastic. That was so lovely from Marzena. I think a great example of what we at my society call fragmented data and the power to access to information, how to try and piece those bits together, but like more broadly making the case that that data needs to be joined up. And yeah, some great comments in the chat all about how interesting it is working at that local level where the scale is so huge, and so there is lots to be done. Anyway, we will get more to that at the Q&A at the end, and I'm delighted to hand over to Stefan. Thank you so much for joining us. Over to you.
Hello, thank you. Let me share my screen. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Perfect. So this is about freedom of information campaigns and how we run those in Germany at FragDenStaat. FragDenStaat is the freedom of information portal for Germany, and we also have EU institutions in there. And that's how we started in 2011. But at this point, we also have 3 lawyers on staff that help with legal support around freedom of information, and also now SLAP, so strategic lawsuits against public participation, defense. So we have like a defense fund against SLAP and other projects in the legal space. And we have an investigative journalism team that publishes with other media outlets. And at this point, not only about freedom of information documents, but also leaks that we are now receiving because they are so well recognized in the space. And sometimes we also run FOI campaigns. Our last campaign has been a while because we are trying to reassess how we want to have impact with that. And also finding the right campaign can be tricky, but I'm going to present I think 3 to 4 campaigns that we've done, starting with the largest and how it developed. So we have a staff of around 30 and we are financed by grants and small donations. So just that you have an idea of how we are scoped. So what's an FOI campaign? So in our idea, there's some type of information available via FOI, so you can request it, but for example, the information is only released to an individual and that individual is not allowed to publish it. That happens or used to happen more often in Germany. We kind of put a stop to that, but it happens occasionally. And that type of information may be distributed among many authorities. So you lack a whole picture. So even if you know this type of information from like 2 or 3 authorities, there may be like 400 that have this kind of information, and requesting all that might be too difficult for you as an individual. And it could also be, and this is supposed to be the type of information that should be published by the authority in the first place. So it's not something that is like has a very narrow interest, but like maybe a broad appeal. And ideally, the public should be interested in it, or you have a way to make them interested in it. So an FOI campaign for us is something that makes it attractive for individuals. So not only easy, but also like it's easy to click a button, but they also have to have like some interest in the information behind it or understand in what context you're requesting it. And then you make it easy and attractive for them to get this type of information via an FOI request. And our most successful campaign so far has been, it's called Top Secret. Let me translate that to Pot Secret. It's like a little pun on Top Secret, I guess. And it's about food safety reports. So we have around 400 authorities in Germany, local authorities that check businesses that handle food. So that's not only restaurants, but also supermarkets and your, I don't know, cheese shop, anything that basically handles food and needs to be checked for hygiene. And so they do checks, and there's a consumer advocate law that allows you to request that information from that authority. And they have to give you the report if there have been if there's a deviance from the rules. And so we work together with Foodwatch, a quite large consumer advocate NGO, to make these food safety reports more accessible. Because in other countries, they are published or businesses are required to put them on their door. So when you go in, you already know what the food safety looks like in there. That's not the case in Germany. Here it's mostly kept very strict. So it's like some of it is published when it's like a very egregious case, but usually you don't know anything about these businesses. And so the idea is to make it more transparent. And that was our initial thought when we started Top Secret. So this is the interface for it. You basically just have a map, and the map has businesses. Here it's like bars and restaurants and supermarkets. And we used a couple of different sources, but in the end we settled on OpenStreetMap, where we just get the whole data dump for Germany and filter by tags that identify businesses in that space, and then put it on a map. And then you can click on one of these icons or like on the list on the side, and you always see already by the color if it's already requested, if the request is ongoing, if the request was successful. We are not judging the actual report at this point because that may be legally challenging, let's say, but we just make it available. So is the request ongoing or has it been answered? And so when you click on one of these icons, you get like the normal FOI form, but it's pre-filled. And we already chosen the authority for you because based on the location of the business, we have like a little geographic information system in the background that knows, okay, this authority is responsible for that point in space. And so we pre-select that, we pre-fill a little request text, and we also pre-fill hidden behind that little 3 dots, the ellipses, is more legal text that we have gathered over the years in support of these requests, where we have learned this is what you have to do. And there's a little edit button at the top, so we can still claim, users can actually edit these requests and write something else if they wanted to. Most really don't, but so we want them to have the at least keep the impression that users are in control of these requests. And we've run this through the newsletter of Foodwatch, which has like 300,000 people. That was in 2019. And yeah, lots of people used it because it's very easy to get started. You just have a map, you have to click, you have to fill in your name and email address, and off you go. And so we had lots of requests going on, and that is the easy part. The hard part is the responses. So responses come into these users on our FOI portal, which works similar to What Do They Know and other Tele instances. And so the first thing we did is we started classifying the authority reactions. It looks a bit like this in a Google sheet. So you have a list of all the 400 district authorities and what kind of argument they are using in order to reject it or delay it or send a letter or something like that. And you can already tell that they are talking to each other and like coordinating responses to that. And we in turn can't do like a manual support of all these requests. So we came up with systems in our FOI portal to handle that a bit better. For example, it looks a bit like this. Here they say, oh, you make this request by email, but you have to send a letter in order to request this. And that's not true. But we detect it in the reply text. And then we show this little box at the top that says, okay, yeah, they say this and that. So we translate what the authority said, and we offer this little button. And when you click that, we pre-fill a reply for you. And then you can send that and hopefully continue the request that you've started by email. And we call these guidances, and we are now able to basically try to find text via, not very smart. AI would do that probably now, but back then we just used regular expressions and other like just text detection. And with that, we are able to show certain actions a user can take based on responses. And this is not like automated, it's just like hints here. This is probably what they said. You can send this, and then users can act accordingly. And so now the outcome of Top Secret is that we have like over 70,000 requests made by 34,000 users since January 2019. So the beginning was very strong. Now it has ebbed a bit. After the first like wave of requests, there have been like lots of lawsuits from businesses against the authorities in order to prevent releases of reports. But by now we have basically settled this all, and there are like 11 high court rulings that all resulted in the release of reports. So like the legal situation has been like cleared up. We can do this. You can do it via email. You can do it online. We can publish the reports. And yeah, we could have not done that without our partner Foodwatch, like this other organization that is still already was more mature than we were, and had like they paid for the legal support, like the lawyers, and supported users when they wanted to hand in something into the court case, and they also reviewed the requests and to see where they get stuck, for example. And so the best outcome we had so far is that one district, at least one district in Berlin, now publishes reports. So in that sense, we have achieved at least something. But our current conservative Berlin government, yes, a surprise to many, maybe that we have a conservative government in Berlin, but yeah, we do, wants to limit this access again, like delay the processing of these requests. And Foodwatch, they again reported on that in their newsletter, and for that the government, like the authorities in Berlin, got like another 2,000 requests just in a week, because people are still interested. Yeah, when you tell them you can like know how your businesses around you are doing, like their food hygiene, they are interested in that. They go there and they want to know. So the campaign for us is a bit over because we are, as an organization, not too invested in food hygiene as a concept. But we still run it as a service, so you can still do these requests. They basically flow into the normal request service. The interface is still there, and we maintain that for now indefinitely, because it's still such a good, attractive way to get people to make their first FOI requests. Another campaign we did is access to old high school exams. So the problem that one of our, actually, he started as an intern, but then is now one of our employees, a student employee. He saw that you can get access to old requests, but to old exams from high school exams, but you have to buy them from publishers. And how does that work? Like the states, the German states are responsible for education. It's not a federal thing in Germany. And these states, they sell these exams that are written by teachers to private publishers, so that students need to buy them back like individually. So there's a kind of a money-making machine. And we wanted to disrupt that, and also, have more more equal access in educational material. We are part of the Open Knowledge Foundation, so open educational resources are like a concept we are standing behind. And so we looked at how we can get access to that through FOI. It's quite a messy situation. Our education system is complex, and so accessing all these things is also very complex. Some states, they publish it already. Some states, you don't have an FOI law. Some states, you can only get individual access, so they send it to one student if they ask for it. So we built an interface that can accommodate all of that, where if you have to request it individually, yeah, you can do that, and then you just have to press one button, and then you basically send that request, and they have to reply. I think they also automated it on the other side now, that they also reply with the thing more or less. But we also convinced some states to just publish it now. That has worked well. Here in the bottom left, you see like part of that interface, like the different years and the different topics, like maths, history, German, English, and also what kind of degree you are trying to attain. And then there's basically already maybe something you can download, maybe there's something you can request, maybe they've denied it at some point. And we are trying to really push that topic forward. And we had some great success. And at some point, we decided to also publish the things where they said, oh, only individuals get access. We just took that data and then made it available. You just have to fill in an email, and then you get an email with a link, and then you can download it there. So we're no longer going through the authority, but just, we are providing that access now because that's easier and for everyone. And I don't know if they've noticed what we are doing, but yeah, it's very popular around exam times in Germany. So every spring, basically, this site gets a lot of traffic. And two more campaigns. One is the public building energy report cards, where we run similar to Top Secret. You also have a map. We try to identify via OpenStreetMap, which is bit difficult. What buildings are public buildings? And then get to request the energy report card of that building. Our partner here is Deutsche Umwelthilfe, a very large German environmental NGO. And the idea is that if this is a building that has a bad energy report card, it should be, renovated, because insulation is like such a large climate impact, and the state should be the first to work on that with their public buildings, and to try to find out which public building is the worst, where can you do something, and just to get a bigger a picture of how that looks like. And the campaign on the right here is the country situation reports by the Foreign Office. So how the German Foreign Office sees other countries and their the security and safety situation in that country. And we did that together with Pro Asyl, like an asylum NGO. And these are just, so with the public buildings, that might be very many, a lot, hardly countable. But here, countries, we have 59 countries in that list. So that campaign, when we launch it, it's quite easy to fill them all up. Then they're all gone. But you still engaged users on the topic, and you you onboard them to an FOI request. So it's like a small thing, but you can do it every year. And we've done that continuously, and also trying to lobby this Foreign Office to just publish them. They get redacted, but the contents are invaluable to asylum lawyers. And the idea is also, they're saying, oh, we can, the Taliban are now okay, so we now can send people back to Afghanistan. But if you look at their country situation report of Afghanistan, you learn that, the situation is not okay. And in this way, we also do some policy work together with this asylum NGO. Yeah, so maybe you should run an FOI campaign. Yeah, it's a good way to bring people to file their first FOI request by just filling something out online where because often if you tell them, why don't you file, have you ever filed an FOI request? They don't, I don't know, what for? What do I file an FOI request for? But if you, come with them with a topic and something that's also locally interesting to them, they may just do that. And it puts pressures on authorities to change their publication policy. We've seen that with the Top Secret campaign. We've also seen it with other campaigns before. We had a campaign with our federal parliament where they now publish reports that they've previously kept secret, and it engages users with the topic at hand and the other NGOs. So they learn a bit about that topic, and it engages them with government accountability and transparency. And when the request gets maybe rejected, they still learn something, right? They know, aha, this is how it works here. Maybe we should have better FOI law. And some tips if you want to get started. So work with a partner organization for more impact. For us, that also means we work mostly with larger organizations, because then we can also leverage their larger audience and bring the topics of FOI to them. And preparing a campaign, you need to test if it works. You don't want to send thousands of people into an FOI request that gets definitely rejected. So yeah, we test locally in different jurisdictions with different laws if it works out, and then come up with strategies to really make it easy. And you can keep it low tech. So some of our campaigns they are not a map with dots. They are just links to pre-filled request forms, like a request form. If you change some URL parameters, you can put in already pre-filled stuff, and then it's ready to send. But you also need to be, because the sending of FOI requests is easy, you need to be ready to offer support via automation, maybe provide some legal texts. And we also have a community forum where top secret users are mostly now engaging with each other. So the support at the end, or after the initial sending, is quite important. Yeah, that's it from me, and I'd love to hear your questions.
Thank you so much. That was so inspiring. Absolutely loved it. And yeah, now I really do want to go and run some more FOI campaigns. But I will start from our first questions, and we've got a couple of minutes. Nnenna, if you're still around, there was a question for you about whether you got resistance when you are making FOI requests on those really important projects where you might be trying to uncover corruption or things that are going on that shouldn't be. What is your success rate for getting the answers that you want out of your FOI requests? Do you deal with resistance and delay and things?
Absolutely. We deal with a lot of resistance, and some of the things that we have done to overcome those is taking legal action. So we take them to court because the law allows us to sue them. So we do take them to court and finally get the results that we want. The second one is building or finding relationships with those who work in the ministries. Because another thing we found out that they don't even know how to respond to this request. They don't know what to do. So it's new to them. So when we build the relationships, we're able to build their capacity and train them, and then they respond to us. So those are the two tactics that we have been able to use to ensure that we're getting value for money or requests, answers, responses to our request.
That's fantastic. And then there was a question from Lizette as well about which projects you support, maybe a bit about the criteria for when you have these open applications for the grant, the mini grants that you give. Maybe you have some links to things you can send that we can send around, or yeah, if you had an answer on that.
The organizations that we support are grassroots organizations. So this is our first grants that we are, releasing or we are conducting. So these are like our pilot phase. So we want to focus solely on grassroots organizations. So those who don't have a lot of capacity, don't have the structure that big organizations have. So those are who we're focusing on at the moment. But yes, I will send you the links. We've rounded up all the calls now. So we're about to start implementation. So they're about to go in the field and start monitoring. But we intend to do more of this, of course, in the coming next year.
I love that. Well, maybe in a year's time we could meet again and Marzena can update us on her new project that was so exciting, and you can update us as well. And Stefan can tell us if there are any more updates from your campaigns. So I look forward to that. I will skip the ones for Marzena, but I can put them to her by email and we'll send the answers around as well. And my lovely colleague Gemma has put her email in the chat too. Stefan, loads of great comments for you here. Maybe you've seen some of them. Willing to share broad costs involved, and maybe also a little bit about how you decide the projects you start on, and a bit about the partner projects. How do you decide or source the partners that you work with? Any of those?
Okay, let me talk about partners a bit. So yeah, partners, it isn't easy to find partners because they're a bit skeptical, because they also, why should we send like our audience to your website where they make an account? But we've been able to show like a good track record also with smaller NGOs that are like more aligned with us, where it's mostly about government transparency, where we've made an impact. And now we've tried to convince them to do the same thing basically in their space. And environmental NGOs are like a good partner because there's the Aarhus Convention, which gives you access to environmental information. And for example, the Building Energy Report Cards are fall under that. And there are other things. But for example, these were the more or less successful campaigns, but we've been struggling to get a campaign off the ground about pesticides in Germany, where you should get access to how much pesticide is on a specific piece of land. And we've tried to run a campaign around that, so to reduce pesticide use, but it's tricky because the authorities are not digital enough. They have to like find that, go to another office to find that information somewhere, and they don't have a database. So we are struggling with the authorities basically can't keep up with their digitization and how we want to have access to that kind of information. And it's always a bit of a struggle with partners to come to terms like, are we linking to our newsletter? Whose logo is the biggest and stuff like that. But we usually find a solution. And for us, I saw also a question about money. How much does it cost? So in 2019, we had like we're not many people, and we could just finance this. And because I built the software and we could just run it. But nowadays, we definitely have more of an idea of how and why we would run such a thing, and we have more of a business business sense around that, and it still totally makes sense because when we get into a newsletter of a larger NGO like 300,000 people, We saw it results in 2,000 requests, and it also means the people they subscribe, they basically come onto our platform, and we also ask them, hey, do you want to subscribe to our newsletter? And that way we get them into our donation funnel. So because we are trying to grow our small donors, and we've done that a lot this year in order to be more independent from grants. And we're now thinking really into this classic funnel, get them into newsletter, get them into the donation, get them into like a continuous donation. And when you partner with other organizations and give them something of value, like your technology platform where they can engage their own users, provide them something like that's a bit shiny of sorts, and at the same time you can like introduce them to your topic and get them into your own audience base. So for us, it totally makes sense. We've been able to grow like our direct audience a lot with that, and yeah, I hope this translates to others. So we're not churning out campaigns like every week or something. It takes a lot of time to work, find a good partner, work with them, and also find a good topic that is easily requestable, and then totally differs from country to country.
That's so interesting. Thank you for being so honest and candid and really interesting. I think that combination of like finding the right topic is, I think, a big one in terms of like getting that in, and then yeah, really interesting to hear about your drive for small donations, because I think that's something that many organizations are thinking about, including us. Yeah, thank you so much everybody for coming. I will wrap up just to say that we do have another event on the 24th of November with the lovely Maria from Fiquem Sabendo in Brazil, and that is all about turning freedom of information requests into newspaper headlines. They have an amazing system where they partner with lots of journalists and get loads of headlines. And so if you're thinking, I would like to run an FOI campaign and I would like it to make headlines and cause waves, then please do come along to that on the 24th. I will share all of the slides from our lovely presenters and any links that they send me in the follow-up email. Thank you so much for coming. Really love to see lots of you here. And yeah, once again, thank you to our brilliant speakers, and have a lovely rest of your day, everybody.